Your depends what you have. You have the pamphlet. It will be the last paragraph on page Beis. Veha-inyan who?
We say base, we mean the base, the big base, or the base on top?
No, the small base on top.
Okay.
The big base is reference to the book. Okay. So we start talking about Keser. Quoted various things and explained a little bit. Essentially, what we have here so far in the Keser is that Keser in itself is something which is a madrege that incorporates a whole inyan that will eventually come forth. But in the place where it is, this is on the essential level, which is impossible, where it's impossible to really identify what's in there. Now this was all in Lashon HaKabbalah. Veha-inyan hu. What is this about? Hine yodua. For it is known the bechinas ha-keser bichlal, that the bechina, the aspect of the keser, bichlal, overall in general, ho bechinas ha-Ratzon, is the aspect of Ratzon. Okay, now, Ratzon is also an elusive principle by us. The reason that Ratzon is an elusive principle is that we think of the Ratzon that is the result of some kind of a need. Like if I'm hungry, I want to eat. There's definitely a Ratzon deep underneath that, but this is not the Ratzon that we're referring to. Ratzon, as a matter of fact, is an element that is given to the creation, to the creature, from the Creator. This is not something that the creature can really create on its own. And it is not incorrect to say that this is the spirit of the Creator within the creation, between the created. Just to give us a first step inkling, this Ratzon that we are trying to identify with, we are going to talk about, does not have a reason, does not have a resultant benefit. I want something so that. This Ratzon is actually identifying the force of the will of the human being, of the person, of the creature, that is entirely pure in and of itself. It is not for the purpose of gaining anything. For the person, it is expressing the reality that it is. We're going to have to kind of limit our discussion in this, but I hope you understand. For example, the inyan that we always mention. We wake up in the morning and we say, modeh lefanecha melech chai v'kayim, shechazati bin yishmosi. This modeh means what? I acknowledge. So what's the big deal? What do I gain out of this? You woke me up. Come on, thank you very much. I'd like to sleep some more. What is this modeh about? Akiva is smiling. You woke me up to recognize and to be and to acknowledge this greatness to which you woke me up. This is what this modeh. This greatness, Melech Chai V'Kayim, the Ratzon for the Malchus, as we said, a Pikoch Mas, you don't gain anything personally out of it. This is not reciprocal gaining. It is the presence of the Melech Chai V'Kayim. This is the greatest thing that you can give me. It doesn't become mine, it remains yours. And you have placed me in that proximity where I'm aware of this. That's the modeh. This Inyan, that awareness of this greatness, is something which is extremely special to us. This is a godly gift. This is a Ratzon. This is called Ratzon HaNefesh. In a practical sense, on what we call on the world in the human sense, what do you gain out of this? When you go to work, at the end of the day, at the end of the week, you get paid. That's what you work for. And what happens as a result of this pay? Not with the pay, you can go home and build your own independent home life. You're not continuing in connection to the employer. Thank you very much. Now I'm on my own. But this Melech, there is no on your own. The greatest thing in me is that I'm staying connected, and that your presence is with me all the time. This is a Ratzon that does not have a worldly kind of a context, of a definition. Because in the world, everything is an independent, a separate entity. As a separate entity, there is no, all I want is my own peace, all I want is my own success. So this is Keser. Why is this a Keser? Because this Ratzon really crowns, speaking from our perspective, the crowns a human being, because it gives the human being such a status of the will of an Inyan that is supreme. It raises him up completely from so to speak, from worldly shackles, from worldly needs. So this is what he started. Ratzon bichlal hu bechinas haratzon. This is the bechin of Ratzon. We always explain the word bechina. Bechina of Ratzon means Ratzon is not a tangible element. In the world, Ratzon is a tangible element. What do you want? Such and why? Because of such and such. And once I'm satisfied, I don't want it anymore. I have it. This Bechinas Ratzon is a force of life itself. There is nothing, anything. You can't even understand it. You can't even define it with seichel. Therefore, this is called the keser, because this is the onset, this is the beginning, this is the force behind everything. Keser da'atzilus. As an example, keser da'atzilus is the keser of atzilus. We know that in atzilus there are 10 spheres. Chochma, Bina, Das, and so on, and spheres all the way to Malchus. And then on top of that, there is what's called keser. Keser is a different world than atzilus. It's a higher world. It's a makidik world. But this keser enables atzilus. What's keser da'atzilus? What is the keser da'atzilus? Hu bechinas ha-Ratzon. This is the aspect of the Ratzon. Lahatzil olam ha'atzilus. It's the Ratzon lahatzil olam ha'atzilus to bring forth, and that there should be the emanation of olam ha'atzilus. To put it in the terms that it's being presented right now, is like this. The keser itself, this is in the within the essence. But then there is atzilus. Atzilus is the emanation from the essence, revelation, a functional level of presence. Like we have 10 spheres. Chochma, Bina, Das. Each one of these spheres has a function. All the way down to Malchus. Above Atzilus, this is, we're talking about an Etzem. It's beyond function. It is an essential inyan. But there is an essential inyan in Atzilus itself. Even though Atzilus is spheres which are defined by their function, nevertheless, there is an element of an essential element in Atzilus. Why? Because the Atzilus comes from the keser. There's a Ratzon. There's a will that there should be Atzilus. This will gives Atzilus an essential presence. Do we, this is not new, we're discussing this all the time. The latest illustration of this principle is, when we talk about the cut in the finger, that could heal perfectly, functionally, and it leave a scar, it doesn't bother anybody. But there is a will that this should be perfect. There's a chayas in it, that the scar should be eliminated, and it should be restored to an initial state. Mm-hmm. This is not part of the healing process, which is something that's above the healing process. This is, I said, perfection is not part of is not within the realm of a composite. That's the Ratzon. Therefore, this Ratzon gives this composite an essential presence. In our example, and same thing in the healing of the on a very simple human experience. You have a table in the house. Okay, you happen to have a table down. The table is a composite put together of pieces of wood, and then it broke. So what now? The table is no longer there, but the Ratzon for the table is still there, and that will restore the table back in its place. You're not going to stay without a table, you're going to table milk. Because there's an essential principle for the table. It is not there just because it happens to be there. This is called the keser of everything. This is the Ratzon. And therefore it says, the keser, the Atzilus, this is the Ratzon, Libra Yoilam Atzilus. The Ratzon to create the Yoilam Atzilus, the Hatzil Yoilam Atzilus, to reveal the Yoilam Atzilus. Even though Yoilam Atzilus is only a revelation, and it has, so to speak, functional elements, but they have also an essential presence, because there's a Ratzon for them to be. And I'm jumping the gun, but just to give us a full-fledged recognition of the significance of this, the whole world is a precarious existence. No, it's not a precarious, it's a real existence. Because there's a will, the godly will that He should be to create it. And this is the after the Mabul completely disrupted the entire worldly process. All fundamental, basic natural processes were disrupted. And then Hashem said, "I'm going to establish the world on a much more solid foundation, because I really want the world, and therefore I'm committing that there should never be disruption on this anymore.
Cleaned it out.
Never be disruption on this anymore." For 4 seasons, 6 seasons, they're all going to be there continually. Night and day.
Why do you need a model to do that, though? You could have done it
Night and
now.
day. Which is created by what? The sun rising, sun sets. The sun doesn't rise. Impossible. Impossible. Because there's an essential will that we should be. All right. I want that we should understand, because we're going into the Ratzon, have a sense the significance of Ratzon. Again, because in our world everything has been reduced to nothing. Kesher Dibriya Ratzon Libra Elam Habri. Oh, I'm sorry. Kesher Atzilus Hatzil Elam Atzilus. Similarly, Kesher Dibriya. This is when I said I'm jumping the gun. Kesher Dibriya, the Kesher of Briya. Ratzon Libra Elam Habriya. Is a Ratzon to create Elam Habriya. There's a significant difference between Lahatzil Elam Hatzilus or Libra Olam Habriya. What's the significant difference? Atzilus is called Hatzil, only an emanation. Briya is called a creation. It's a significant difference, because in Atzilus you can justify this thing, because Atzilus is representative of its source. It's just an emanation, and it's still connected. It's still speaking about the godly reality. Not speaking about the oilam. It's speaking about the godly reality in a revealed form. Therefore, so to speak, it lends itself to say, oh, there's a Ratzon, there's a will to reveal this. Olam Habriya is a new creation. Does not exist prior to being created. So you will say, this is a completely precarious present. It happens and happens. It didn't happen, didn't happen. You follow what I'm saying? There is not an essential source for it. For the moment I want to create, I create. And I don't want it. It's not there. Who cares? That's what Olam Abriya. That's the world. The world doesn't exist within the godly reality, which is completely a different kind of reality. So we're saying that the entire Seder Ishtalshelus, starting from Atzilus and starting from Haida Atzilus, as we shall see, there is the will that comes along with the entire process. And that's Libre Olam HaBriya, there's a Ratzon, Libre Olam HaBriya. Even Olam HaBriya, what significance does it have? There's a Ratzon. Like we said before, you have a table in the dining room. That's a separate entity. And also, okay, I can have that also. I can live without it. But there is a will for that. And as we point out all the time, the will for that is very profound in the human being, in the nefesh Adam, to the extent that when it comes to eating, for example, or learning, he has to have a table.
So the what?
He has to have a table. Because he came down into this world and he has a will to function within the parameters of the world perfectly. And parameters of the world, if you should identify something real, it has to have a seat and a table and do things in orderly fashion within Zman Mokim according to worldly parameters. Somebody did not mute the phone. Okay. Veha-inyan, these are Keser de Atzilus and Keser of Bria and so forth. And the Ratzon of Libreyem Atzilus, Lahatzelim Atzilus in the Ratzon Libreyem Bria. Hein bechinas haksorim aprotim. These are, refers to the ksorim protim, the specific ksorim, the keser at a specific level.
That's a question?
What? Yeah, what's the question?
In Atzilus, it's an emanation, so why do we need to say, if we go back to Keser, the whole thing is a representative of Palakos. In Bria, when it's something separate, we need to come back to Keser, but in Atzilus, it's just an emanation. Yeah?
All right, I understand your question. So to answer this question, I'll just go off a little bit on the side. Atzilus, in general, is Inyan HaChochma. The whole world of Atzilus is like world contained within Chochma. Bria is like world contained within Bina and so forth. Now, Chochma, we have a physical illustration of Chochma. Dinge von Re'iyah, of sight. And we always point out that sight is a phenomenal thing. It actually, in sight you actually observe the reality of something, not only on a function of how it pertains to you, but as it is unto itself. This phenomenon of observing through sight the reality is based on the Ratzon. Observation not by itself. For example, an animal also sees. Does the animal see the reality of the world the way a human being sees the reality of the world? The animal also sees. This is the whole misunderstanding. A camera sees. Is that the same thing like a human eye sees? What's the difference? The difference is that the human eye, when he sees, he relates to why is it there? What's behind it? What's the truth behind it? What's the Ratzon behind it? Like I always say that sight exposes us not to what we see, but what's being shown. Why is it being shown? What is it about? If we should take sight, just verbatim, just a limit of sight, then day and light are identical. All it does is that I'm able to see. But if you relate to what's behind it, then you see a completely different thing. That's because of Ratzon. Your own Ratzon that recognizes a different kind of reality. The sight itself does not present it. You recognize a different kind of reality because your sight is based on Ratzon. In other words, I really want to see the reality, and that's how you see it. If you don't have this Ratzon, it's not going to wake you up. It's not going to tell you anything. Okay, Reb Shlomo?
Yeah. Fair.
This is the key. Sometimes we hear Inyanim explained, and we don't understand. We don't follow it. It doesn't say anything. It's not because we don't have a seichel, but because we didn't put ourselves in, because we don't have the Ratzon for it. We didn't connect to it. In other words, the real understanding, the in that, I see, so to speak. Here's the reality. Is not from the understanding itself. It is that which is deeper the understanding, that which is the Ratzon for this knowledge. And there's much to be spoken, but I think that's sufficient for this moment.
Thank you, Paltiel. Good morning and pleasure.
Okay, just one, and in the line. Veha-inyan aksorim aprotim. These are the aksorim protim, the specific aksorim. Or bechinas ak, the bechina of ak, what's called odom kadmon. Nikra, that is referred to, that's described as keser, the keser legabe klolos ha'ishtalshelus. Keser for klolos ha'ishtalshelus, for the ishtalshelus in general. Shemimeno lomato, that comes from ak and down. I wanted to have this so we should understand what actually brings about that there should be a Ratzon on a lower level. It is because there is an overall Ratzon for the whole Seder Ishtalshelus. As far as the Ishtalshelus will develop, there is a Ratzon for it. And you'll still have plenty of time, opportunity to discuss it. Okay, a great day, have a great day, and a good Chodesh.
So brilliant.
Brilliant. Yeah.